Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Forza 6 with another autocross car build. My vehicle today is the Dodge Daytona. You guys wanted to see me turn this into an autocross car, so I am going to give it a go. I believe it is the first Dodge that I have taken around here. I can't believe it's taken this long, but yeah, I think it's I think it may well be. Now, there are some good sides to using a car such as this. Yes, it is absurdly large. Now, it's not actually necessarily too big of a problem. If the front end of the car can get turned in well enough, we got the limo around the course without too many problems. And we will get some very, very big tyres. On the Daytona, we are going to have 345s on the rear, and I'm assuming 285s, 265s on the front. Okay. Not like slightly bigger tyres. Again, just the bigger tyres I can get on the front, the better turning I can get, and that is what is going to be important in a car like this. But we are going to get some big tyres. We are likely to have plenty. I mean, it's from standard. We've got 425 horsepower, 490 foot-pounds of torque. So, power-wise, yeah, we've got plenty of it, and we should have plenty of traction as well with these tyres. Also, we are going to be on the heavier side. There's no doubt about that with this car. And that can occasionally, admittedly, the way I'm building these cars to A-Class, we haven't really had anything being too kind of crazy to drive. Sometimes that little bit more weight can keep cars, just that little bit more stability in the vehicle. 3,200 pounds. I think the power to weight ratio is going to work itself out relatively nicely. In all honesty, with this car. Right, we're going to... Shall we go and do aero? We can put a front bit on. What can we do with the rear? Okay, so it's... We can have the wing or we can not have the wing. So the standard one hopefully is going to come with some downforce. That's going to have some downforce as well. It's all going to be about handling really with this car. Can we get it to handle well enough? We will go for a gearbox, and likewise we'll go through these parts, adding this stuff on. I may keep the driveline off just for now so that we can come back to it at the end when we need that final PI point and so on. Right, engine-wise, we're probably going to be seeing... we've got 500 foot-pounds of torque. We may be seeing about 500 horsepower in this vehicle, which is a relatively large amount for an autocross car build. Oh, here is the question. Do we keep it naturally aspirated? Do we go for a supercharger? I think we may possibly have to go for something like a supercharger in here. I could go for the camshaft upgrades, jump that up there. Do we want to go for that? Do we go for higher revving, or do we want to go for a supercharger? That is the question. Let's go have a look at a supercharger. Aspiration swaps. The turbos would eventually give you more power, but the way that we're building this car, we're not going to be needing to max out the engine completely. So I'm thinking if we go for supercharger, it'll give us power and torque. It does add a little bit of weight, yes. However, that is all taken into consideration with the PI, and I think we will go with that. Sometimes this can save a bit of weight, not quite. That's a little bit of a shame, but nevertheless, we're going to be getting a monstrous amount of power out of this 555, 640 foot-pounds of torque. Now, this should get out of the gates very, very quickly. There should be the traction to put the power down onto the road very, very well. Will we have the handling through the corners? That is the question. That is where the Renault made up so much time on the Corvette. Could we have another classic car challenging the top of the table, though, in the shape of this Dodge? Of course, we have come to the Hockenheim circuit to test out the Daytona, where it is going to get 3 attempts through the autocross course. Our current target time is a 2:05.2 set by the Renault 5 Turbo that went out last time. I think that may be asking a little much of the Dodge. My suspicion with this car is it'll probably be quite planted, probably quite easy to drive in all honesty, but I don't think we're going to be able to get the front end turned in too well to the slower speed stuff. Basically, where the Renault was blindingly fast, I think we're going to struggle. Or with the Daytona, the size of the car, the weight of the car is all going to work against trying to get it through the slower corners quickly. The high-speed stuff, I am hoping that it'll be good at with some humongous rear tyres. Even with all the power and all of the torque, I suspect we won't have too many problems from this car, but we're going to be, we might be fighting a little bit to get the front end turned in. It's not too terrible, certainly, through that first bit. We will see how it goes. It is nice having so much power and torque on tap, and you can just boot it out of the corner. And there's no real fear that this car is going to slide about. There is huge amounts of grip, and while it isn't the fastest through there, it is lovely and controlled through that section. Perhaps a little cumbersome through here, and again, yeah, it's just you can kind of sense that it is a rather large car. And while the size isn't going to be a problem actually getting it through the gates, it's not going to get stuck on this course. It's not that tighter an autocross course, and the kind of the weight, and it generally doesn't get turned in quite well enough. Are we going to be flat through here? Yes, indeed we are, which is always nice. But it is only, I say only 116 miles an hour. It's a couple of miles an hour down on some of the faster cars that have gone down there. I think it's about 4 miles an hour down on the records. There is just a lot more weight in this car to get going. While we do have a lot of power and a lot of torque to get it shifting, it's twice the weight of some of the vehicles. Oh, and that's where we're going to have issues. Yeah. Just turned in a fraction too soon trying to maintain some speed, and we ran along the side of the barrel, and that's less than ideal. Brakes are pretty good. Brakes are pretty good at getting it stopped down there, and again, it's so lovely and controlled and predictable. I know what the Daytona is going to do on the most part. It's always nice to have that. We're going to get understeer around there. That's that simply cannot carry the speed in this vehicle that I have in some of the other cars. But yeah, it's a car that I think I will probably be able to get a lot of confidence in quite quickly. Just got to learn what you can ask of it and what you can't. How do we fare through here? It's not too bad. I just suspect it's slower than we saw from the Renault. It's going to be across the line, couple of gates hit. So yeah, there's 10 seconds worth of penalties. It's an okay start, I think, for the Daytona. So it is on to the second run for the Dodge, and it's pretty much driving how I expected it to, which is, I know, rare for me when it comes to these kind of builds. However, yeah, it's pretty much as expected. I think perhaps the best way to get some performance out of this vehicle is to try and be as smooth as possible. We're simply not going to be able to carry the corner speed that we did in the likes of the Renault, so we're going to have to try and make the most of the acceleration and make the most of the traction. So perhaps being a little slower into these corners, focusing on getting a nice run out of the turns, because it's simply not going to be able to carry the speed through these corners that some of the other vehicles have, and that's not massively surprising. So it's going to be very much a case of play to the Dodge's strengths and try and keep it out of the barrels. Try and not get too much understeer through any of these, and if you can do that, I'm quite liking it. It's very much my sort of car, this one. Predictable, relatively easy to drive, even if it is a tad understeery. And yeah, it's quite a ridiculous vehicle, really, to be taking around an autocross course. Oh, careful now. When I say it is predictable, it's kind of predictably understeery, really, around here. Oh, please get stopped down this turn. This is where we're not going to be very nice. Through this one here, really got to try and fight to get the car sorted out through there. Don't run across the curb too much. We could see the car going up onto two wheels if things go a little bit wrong. It seems to be fairly good under brakes down here. I can be relatively late and get the whole thing nicely sorted out through there. I may have shifted up by accident there without really needing to. That was not the cleverest thing I have done in these runs. Now, don't let the understeer catch you out too much around here. That's... I thought I'd got it right. It wasn't quite. I've not quite got the width sorted. Bugger, that was some poor driving by me. I'll hold my hands up to that one there. I thought I was good to go and just clip the barrel on the way out. You can kind of make the most of the understeer around there, let it drag wide. It's the third barrel around the hairpin where its position is really arsey, so you can kind of try and let the understeer drag it wide. Unfortunately, I dragged it a little bit too wide on that run. It is Yeah, I mean, 5-second time penalty. That time out, it's fairly similar. We're at about 2:10 unless I can get some more time on this last run. On to the final run for the Dodge. Can I find any more time? I'm not quite sure where I'm going to. I would love to go faster with the Daytona, my A-class car of choice, for a while on here. However, that's for normal racing. When it comes to autocross, I'm not sure this is the best suited car. We do not have the grip, and I think it's just too heavy trying to carry the corner speed. The power makes up for it, the power to weight ratio wise, if you like. It's decent enough accelerating, but through these turns I just can't carry the speed in the vehicle, and that's not exactly surprising. We are 1,000 pounds, well over 1,000 pounds heavier than a lot of cars that have gone around here. That's only gone around here quickly, and while the acceleration makes up for it a little bit, it's not really enough, because we've had cars with a lot of power lighter than this accelerate very, very quickly as well. It's just not quite enough, this car, to really go very, very fast around here. I do like the way it drives. I like the predictability of the car. I like that I know what it's going to be doing, even if it's not got the grip for what I want to be doing ultimately. I do like that aspect of it. The brakes are pretty good. Again, considering this is such a heavy car, it does do a pretty good job of getting slowed down. It's just places like this where the last few cars have just danced through that section, and you notice that this is a much bigger, a much heavier car through some of these slower sections. Up here, though, is pretty good. It's pretty impressive, actually, the way it gets stopped and turned in. And again, you can be quite brave with the throttle. You can carry good speed coming up towards that section. Again, make sure that we can get the car slowed down for the hairpin. Now let the understeer drag it a little wide, but not too wide. There we go. That time around, I got through the gate before the back of the car hit it. So, well, I mean, the game hasn't given me a penalty, so bugger it, we're carrying on. But we are, yeah, we're down on the faster times. I just simply can't get it through these gates quick enough. With the Daytona, you really have to slow it down through here. It's certainly not as agile through this section as the Renault 5 was. Is up towards the line. It's a 209.9. We did get it under the 210s for that final run. Admittedly, a little tiny bit cheeky with the car having got... I think the back of the car clipped the gate, but the front had already got through, so the game counted it as passed. I'm going to take it on that one. The Daytona... pretty much exactly as I expected the car to be. Not too often am I that correct with them. A lot of vehicles surprise me, but this one, yeah, pretty much spot on. The front end simply doesn't turn into the corners as well as we've seen a lot of vehicles. I can't carry the corner speed. Yes, there is a lot of power. Yes, there is great traction. I can get it out of the corners. It is lovely having a car. You can just boot it straight out of the corners and it'll go, even with all of the horsepower, even with all of the torque. And it is a predictable car. Problem is, it's predictably understeery and predictably lack of grip through the turns. It's, yeah, just not the ideal suited vehicle to this kind of thing. Too heavy and a lack of grip, really. Certainly from the front end, anyway. The rear end pretty well planted. Could carry some decent speed through the faster sections, but. Yeah, pretty much what I predicted at the start. The time, though, that 209.9 will put the car into 27th place. It is a fair way down the leaderboard. It is a fraction ahead of the Cooper Works Mini. It does beat the Tesla Model S and the Volvo 123. However, it's slower than the Ford Deluxe Coupe, slower than the Subaru SVX, slower than the GMC Cyclone. So yeah, it is quite a way down the leaderboard. And a little bit of a shame, kind of quite expected though, really, from the Daytona. It could have been a lot worse, to be honest, going around an autocross course, considering, well, you know, the size of the vehicle and so on. But, yeah, it's just that little too slow through the gates to really challenge the top of the table. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.